terms of a preseason roster, though, let's take a look at it. It's our most favorite thing to do. We like to look at all of the names that are on a preseason roster. They've been varying from, anywhere from, 20-ish players to 30 plus players. And we love when there's a ton of names to take a look at. So in terms of Kansas City current and their preseason roster, for goalkeepers, they've got 4 at the moment with Kelsey Dawsey, Adriana Franch, Carly Nelson, and Kayla Thompson. Defenders with 8, Elizabeth Ball, Kate Delfava, Brooklyn Ince, Taylor Leach, Alex Loera, Izzy Rodriguez, Mallory Weber, and Jenna Winbrenner. For midfielders, it's 10, Chardonnay Curran, Kristen Edmonds, Lo'eau LaBonta, Chloe Lagarzo, Haley Mace, Addie McCain, Sam Mewis, Maddie Nolf, Victoria Pickett, and Desiree Scott. For forwards, they're rounding out with 6, Molly Bezlyle. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. You're the announcer, Lisa. Am I saying that correctly? There's Elise Bennett, who's the college draft pick, Kristen Hamilton, JC Johnson, Lynn Williams, and Michelle Vasconcelos, currently on loan. I'm taking a look at some of these players currently on the roster, and we're thinking about, when we're looking at a potential starting 11, Lisa, there's names already on this roster that we can maybe point to and say, this is a player that if preseason goes well, right, everything is on schedule, it's supposed to be, everybody's healthy, come the start of opening day, that there's a number of players here that we can say they're likely a lock for a Kansas City current starting 11. I think it goes without saying, maybe somebody like an Adie Franch, right, who they got mid-season, is likely going to be manning the net for them moving forward. Even within the defender line, looking at a player like Elizabeth Ball, right, who got a different contract, extension with this club. There's investment there with this player. Even in the midfield core with the new additions and somebody like a Sam Mewis, I don't believe you make a move like that, right, if you don't intend to utilize this player. But you've got other veterans within there as well, whether it's like a Kristen Edmonds or a Lo'eau LaBonta. And then for the forward core, I think maybe at one point you can sort of look and see there might be some competition here, right?
Yeah.
In this front line. But when you made a move for somebody like a Kristen Hamilton midseason and then adding somebody like a Lynn Williams, I imagine you're going to try to be building the attack with and around these players. So in terms of the personnel at hand, when we're looking at a potential starting 11, when we're looking at young prospects or experienced players, who's maybe standing out here for you, Lisa, even if we're just looking at a starting 11?
When you look at these numbers in the roster positionally, I'm interested to see what Matt Potter's going to throw out as his formation, because there's a lot of different possibilities here with 10 midfielders in this mix, 6 forwards and 8 defenders. There's definitely a lot of possibilities and some changes he's going to have to cut down on before the start of the Challenge Cup happens. The locks that you mentioned, yes, they're in for me, those locks, hoping that everything goes according to plan and players stay healthy. But some players that I'm looking at, in particular, midfielder Addie McCain. She's a second-year player in the NWSL. She was with Kansas City Current last year and Hugh Williams. She got a few minutes and a few games under her belt with Kansas City playing in the midfield. She suffered an injury, so she didn't see as much time on the pitch as she would have liked. But she's a player out of Texas A&M, a midfielder. She was SEC Midfielder of the Year. She has a lot of potential and a lot of growth. So for me, she's a young player that I'm going to look at because of all of the experience that is already on this roster and in the midfield, like you mentioned, Kristen Edmonds, Lo'eau LaBonta, Sam Mewis, Victoria Pickett, even Haley Mace, even there's a lot there. So if Addie McCain can kind of wipe the slate clean of last year, use her experiences that she had, but take this year as a year to just learn and a year to grow, to just be a sponge every single day, working alongside players like Sam Mewis, pick up her skills that she's doing and translate that to McCain's own game. I think that Addie McCain could be a player that in the future of the NWSL could make some changes, and we could start to see her progressing, especially when Kansas City doesn't have a lot to lose, right? They finished which is something that is unfortunate, but they have to keep that into perspective for the 2022 season. They finished the last in the league in 2021. So the only place to go from there is up. So make those risks on the field, try out different things, try different players in different positions. And if Addie McCain gets on the field, I want her to just give it her all and see where she can grow. So she's a younger player, who's had time in the league before, but someone I'm keeping an eye on for Kansas City in 2022.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. I think oftentimes when folks are conceptualizing like a young prospect, right, or a top prospect, I mean, think maybe they're looking immediately at who's coming out of the draft, but that absolutely includes like players who are like McCain, who are just going to be entering their second year, right, in the league, and sort of see what they can still bring to a team like the Current. When it comes to this roster and looking at the new faces that are going to be involved with the club, it's a mix. It's like they've got new faces, but who are experienced veteran players, right? Whether there's somebody like
Mhm.
a Mewis or a Williams. But there's also players on this roster that are new faces and just new to being professionals in general. So there are areas of opportunity for experienced players to be leaned on during this time. So when we're looking at the experienced essential player that Kansas City Current might find themselves leaning on at certain moments during the 2022 season, preseason or otherwise, I think you and I can both agree that we're looking at a particular midfielder in Lo'eau LaBonta as
Mhm.
somebody who is likely going to be that sort of player who's leaned on for whether it's experience, leadership, or otherwise on and off the pitch. This is a player that's been involved in NWSL for a long amount of time, who's not unfamiliar, right, to the Kansas City area. She was a part of those Kansas City rosters in the former franchise of FC Kansas City. And we noticed even when during the 2021 season, when there were areas or stretches of time where perhaps the club was impacted by an injury bug, somebody like Lo'eau LaBonta's presence was very clearly missed, right? In terms of trying whatever the team was trying to figure out in terms of the soccer they were looking to produce on the pitch. So I have to imagine that going into this 2022 season, even with the introduction of new faces, even with the introduction of young prospects, that this is a player that's going to still play an essential role for this roster moving forward.
I agree. Lo'eau LaBonta is someone that can step up and be an integral part. I could even see her pushing higher into the forward line and contributing in that front line, scoring goals and doing a lot. She's just a player that puts so much emphasis on her love and her passion for the game. She really took the city of Kansas City under her wings last year and became a player for the city, for the fans. So that connection will hopefully spread throughout the team and throughout the fans throughout 2022. So yeah, I mean, Addie McCain for me as a young player, and Lo'eau LaBonta, adding her to that list as the experienced player to do big things for Kansas City this year.
In terms of an international spotlight for this team, we've been doing this in our previews as well. And whether or not there are players on the roster that we could see, making departures perhaps throughout the season in light of 2022, having a lot of different World Cup qualifying competitions going on. Obviously, the other additional international windows that could be taking place. And I think the most notable players, right, when you're taking a look at who could be coming in and out of Kansas City Current, you're looking at somebody like a Sam Mewis, right?
Mhm.
Looking at somebody like Lynn Williams, Adriana Franch, obviously still part of that goalkeeper pool, could possibly see some time back in national team camps as well, right? And that's just at the United States level, but that's not even mentioning somebody like a Desiree Scott, another
Yeah.
veteran of this league, right? Another experienced player that perhaps this club will be looking to for leadership as well on and off the pitch. But a gold medal Olympian with the Canadian women's national team.
I think you have to look at that because it is a World Cup qualifying year for the women's side of the game. And these are really heavy hitters for Kansas City. If they lose AD French in goal and Sam Ewis in the midfield and Lynn Williams up top, even Desiree Scott in the midfield and defensively, those are really big holes for Kansas City. So while they have those players, rack up the points, get goals, get shutouts, make your goal differential really big and stretch it. That way you have a little bit of cushion when those international players are away with their national team. As of right now, Sam Ewis, right, she's not on the She Believes Cup roster for the United States, so she's not away at camp. She is rehabbing and training with Kansas City, which is off to a good start, but that's not going to stay for very long. She'll be back with the national team. So it's if they can kind of create cushion for themselves while they have their full team stacked before these players go away for international duty.
So here we are. We're talking about off-season moves, right? That this team has made in terms of assembling a preseason roster, coaching staff, right? Additional hires at the administrative level, even dipping into things that this club was already doing mid-season to at late end of season to lead into and look ahead to the 2022 season. Talking about facilities, right? Resources. We've been hearing that a lot when it comes to this franchise, especially in light of the newer names that they brought in, right? Hearing directly Sam Ewis, Lynn Williams, we had her on the show as well, talking about a lot of the great resources and the things that Kansas City as a franchise is trying to provide and set standards in terms of NWSL clubs throughout the league. So this leads us, I think, to our biggest burning question entering the 2022 season for Kansas City Current is, will all of the hype translate to the pitch in the 2022 season? I don't know, Lisa, what do you think?
I mean, this is such a big question because there is so much change. Even like the announcement of the new crest and the new name in their very last match of 2021, there was so much hype around it. It was this crazy cool video that they put out, and in stadium, all of the fans had different color wristbands, and it was a whole show and a whole production. So there's a lot of hype. There's no denying it. There's a lot of hype around this team. I think that if they can block out the noise, if they can expect to be at the bottom and have to climb their way to the top, we could see this translating to the team and to the field. I don't think that they're a club and a team and players that are going to walk into their first match thinking they're going to win 5-0 and 5-0 and just sweep the Challenge Cup, sweep the regular season and be this dominant team. They have to work at it day in and day out. They really have to buy into this mentality. They have to play like they have a chip on their shoulder. And I think they will. I think that Kansas City has that chip on their shoulder. I think that they went from playing in a baseball stadium last year to playing in Children's Mercy Park this year to getting their very own facility for next season, that they are trying to prove that they belong in this league and that they are a powerhouse, top dogs. I think it's going to translate. Will it all translate? I don't know, but I hope it will, and I hope it does, which maybe leads us to our projected finish of them in 2022. What are you thinking?
Absolutely. Listen, I'm with you. I'm here's another water joke. I'm drinking it. I'm drinking the hype. I'm drinking the water, right? I'm drinking the Kansas City Current hype pitch.
They're it's fun like, to watch. Like even at the end of 2021, this team was really, really fun to watch. Go in and play spoiler to
there's something about being a part of Team Chaos, right? It's just always a different. It's just always a different sort of energy, and we're gonna be paying attention to that to see if all of that combined with all of the stuff that we've been watching from this team in the offseason translates to the pitch specifically. In terms of the projected finish in 2022, I'm hopeful. I'm sticking with our ambitious pick that we made in December when we did our way too early power rankings. I'm going to push that into an actual literal standing on the NWSL table. I'm going to say that this team does do enough to jump up those 5 spaces and maybe clinch a playoff spot. I'm going to stick with Kansas City and say that they are absolutely going to take that next step forward. How about you?
So you're putting Kansas City at a number 5. I want this on record. I just want to say it out there.
Yes,
I'm with you, Sandra. Don't worry.
You gotta put it on record.
We're a team on this one. I think that Kansas City is going to make the 2022 NWSL playoffs.
I love it.
Full
I would
stop.
love to see it. I would love to see it. I know we've been doing some ranges here and doing some predictions like that. And I know we love doing that because another thing we love doing is coming on back to the show and talking about if we were wrong or if we were right. So we will see what happens throughout the duration of 2022 with Kansas City Current. We want
And
to
we'll be
thank
back. We'll be
everybody.
back with more water puns throughout the
Oh my
year
gosh.
too.
Yeah. Apparently I just keep cranking them out no matter what. I don't need to be prompted at all. I just have them all here.